it's JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at a machete from British Machete Co. This is the Chopra Machete Poison Dart Frog Edition, 100% made in the UK. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description. You can even join as a channel member. Thanks a lot. A shout out to BMC for sending me this machete. I was pretty excited to get it. I've brought it out to the jungle to test. I'm going to do a re-unboxing for you right over here. So this is the machete packaging. Very simple, black, elegant box with some of the branding on it. It is a rather heavy item, but they've got a nice packaging here, and I think they do a very good job with that. And inside you have a whole bunch of items. Now, depending what you order, now if you order the whole set of the machete with the sheath and the sling, then you get everything that you see in here. And I would say that everything was well packaged individually. Now, as I mentioned, I've actually opened this, brought it out to the jungle, so I've kind of put it into the sheath. If not, they are individually wrapped. I like the fact that they provide a sling, and that's one of the preferred ways of carrying the machete. I personally am an advocate of slinging a parang or machete. I've talked about this in previous videos as well, but they give you an option. You can belt carry or you can sling it. This is the machete itself. More on that in just a bit. Let's have a look inside. Now you get quite a few different accessories. This is actually a belt loop that you go around your belt, and then you can use the dangler system to attach this to your belt. So you can belt carry the machete if you want. It's got the attachment for that. Got a few other goodies they've packed in. You have a fire steel, some paracord, some swag as well, and a cleaning cloth. So that's really nice. Now, this is really a premium machete, a premium product, and I think the way they've thought about the packaging, the materials used, and everything that goes into it, it has been very well thought and does match up to the expectation of what you're paying for. Let's move the box out of the way and let's have a look at the machete itself. Let's start off with the sheath. Now, I'll say this is probably one of the nicest Kydex sheaths that's seen from a production line of machetes. Look at that. That's 2mm Kydex, very solid. There is a drainage hole, which I like. There's this attachment over here. This is for you to sling or attach one end of the sling over here. And you've got this really hefty D-link with this leather strap over here, which rotates. Very important, because when you put this on your belt and if you're trying to draw out the machete, if this is fixed, because this is a 14-inch blade, it's going to be really hard to unsheath it by pulling it vertically out. So you need some kind of a dangler or rotation system, which allows you to turn this so that you can draw it out easily and, of course, put it back. So well thought out and very nice, elegant design as well. You can see just from the components and the material, like the leather here and the thickness of that D-link, I can see they really went out of the way to choose quality materials, which I really appreciate. You have a retention strap over here, even though you do have a Kydex sheath, which is pretty good retention. And you can just remove that just like that. So very easy to use, very sturdy sheath, and I think that when it comes to machete or parang, a lot of the times the sheaths do not match the quality of the blade, but in this case I think it definitely does. Okay, so here we have the machete. As mentioned, this is the Chopra Machete, and this specific one is the Poison Dart Frog, or PDF. Now, that's really because of the black handle and the yellow liners, and it's really inspired by the yellow banded poison dart frog of the South American jungles. So very sleek looking. There is a black coating. The shape has some inspiration from Malaysian or Southeast Asian parangs. For example, this is a chandong. Of course, there's a difference in blade length. This is 8 inches, this is 14 inches. Here's another chandong, also made in Malaysia. But you can see they've done some design in terms of how they've shaped it. And primarily the Chopra, at least from what I feel and tested, is designed as a chopper, and it does look like a lot of the chopper parangs that you might have over here. So let me talk about some specs here. So it's 14.2 inches for the blade. The overall length is 19.88 inches, so about 20 inches. The blade steel is CS80 carbon spring steel. That's similar to 1075. The blade hardness has been hardened to a 56 to 58 HRC, and the thickness of the blade 5 millimeters. So this is a very, I would say, big and hefty chopper. Thick blade, long blade. Overall weight of the knife without the sheath is 785 grams, and including the sheath, that's 995 grams, almost 1 kilograms. So in terms of pounds, just the knife alone, that's 1.73 pounds. With the sheath is over 2 pounds. So that is a very hefty blade. Let's have a look at it first. This is the overall shape. This part over here, I believe that the intention was to straighten out for battening. So if you want, you can smash a batten on it, a wood batten, so that you can split wood if you want. I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes personally. I think either way it would not really have affected the performance, but it is a design feature there. There is some jimping over here, which allows you to choke up just a bit of a choil, although it's a bit of a right angle. I prefer this if it was a bit more curved, but there's a sharpening choil. Always appreciated when you're sharpening these blades. You do want a choil just before the plunge line, just making it much easier to sharpen. Now this is a full tang blade, but it is skeletonized at the handle, and the handle material is Richlite. Alright, so I wasn't very familiar with this material, but from what I understand, it is basically an FSC certified product, so it's sustainable. It's made from post-consumer recycled paper, and what they do is they stack up the pieces of paper and then they saturate it with a phenolic resin, and then they apply heat and pressure to get this very solid material. And even though it might be paper, it is very durable and very solid, and again, recyclable. So that's pretty interesting. Now, it feels harder in my opinion, at least, to, let's say, micarta, maybe a bit like G10, but it is, I guess, because of the resin, so you do have that kind of a hard plastic polymer feel. Okay, let's talk about my experience with the performance. Now, as mentioned, this is designed primarily as a chopper. If you are looking for a heavy chopper, this definitely could fit the bill. For me, when I look for a parang, generally I like an all-purpose tool. Well, in this part of the world, in the jungle, our main big tool would be a parang or machete. And personally for me, I look for something that can do multiple things. It can slash, it can chop, it can batten, and it can do a bit of finer work. So this being a larger blade and pretty heavy, I would say it's more for chopping. And I think it's also designed for a bigger person, someone with bigger hands. I have small to medium hands, and I did find this a bit big in terms of real estate for the handle, which is not much of a problem, but it would be the weight distribution for me. It is very front heavy and designed as such. There's also a skeletonized handle, so definitely front heavy. But as a result, because this widens up significantly as well, when you try to chop, or when I try to chop at least, when I pull back a bit, it is quite tough to get a full grip purchase, and you get fatigued quite easily. So this handle is, I believe, inspired by the Borneo sort of handles. I'll give you examples. So this is from Parang Lipis. That's kind of the traditional Malayan parang handle. So I can see what they've tried to do there in terms of replicating that design. But I think the main difference is this is kind of blocky and squarish, while this is round. So I still can get a purchase around this quite well, even though it is thick and wide, but I can get a purchase. Of course, it is a much lighter parang as well, due to the thickness of the blade and the length. However, because this is a bit longer, there's chamfering around the side, so it is ergonomic in a sense, but it's harder for me to get a good grip. And then when you're wielding this and chopping it, that to me can be quite challenging. So as a clearing tool, it definitely can clear, but limited by your own physical capabilities. Again, it is a heavy tool. If you are a larger person, large hands, I don't think you would have a problem with that. Now let's talk about chopping. Now it can definitely chop. It was designed for that. It's got the weight for that. You let your weight of the blade, do most of the work as you can, but you still need control of the blade or the overall machete when you swing. So I could do that, but let me share with you some of my thoughts in the field immediately after I did a chopping test. I've been chopping over a minute. This is what we've gone through. Now it does chop, but I'll mention this, and it goes back to the handle. The handle, I guess just for these small to medium Asian hands, does feel very big. I can't get the purchase. Now as you can see, it swells up at the end. So normally I tend to hold a parang further back and I let the weight kind of do the work. But I can't really do that because I can't even get a good purchase here because it's just way too thick, which means I have to come back up here to choke up. Now when I choke up, I'm doing a full grip like that, and when I chop, I really feel that vibration due to that full tang as well, and just due to the construction. So I would say that I'm having issues chopping with this due to the handle shape, design and thickness. And I think someone with larger hands like a Caucasian, you might actually find this works well because you get a good purchase and you might actually feel that confidence because of the large grip. But in my case, it actually is not easy to chop, and I do almost feel there's a danger of it flying out. And I typically do not do a lanyard around the wrist for a parang. I would do a pinky lanyard, but even in this case I do not have enough of purchase because it's just too big, and because of the weight as well, that's going to put a lot of strain on my pinky as well. So as a chopper, for me, I am having difficulties with this. In the right hands with the right size, I think this will be a solid chopper. But let's go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about some finer work. Now, obviously this was not designed for fine work. It's to be paired with a smaller jungle knife. But as mentioned, when I look at machetes, I do like to look at all-round capabilities. So when it came to finer work like feather sticking, it could cut, but of course, being a bigger tool and front heavier, it is harder to control and then harder to get, really perfect feather sticks, although it can do the job. So in a pinch, you still could rely on such a tool to do fine work, even though it's such a big tool. So let me just share with you what I think I would like to see in a future edition of this particular Chopra Machete, and that's to do a smaller version, about 10 inches long in terms of the blade, and make the handle just less wide. Now, they probably can't round it as much as a wood handle, but they could make it smaller in proportion with that 10-inch blade, and that'll make it, I think, easier to grip. I also like them to round out this finger choil over here, and that just makes it more comfortable when choking up to do finer work. And in that format, I think maybe even thin it down to a 4.5mm blade stock. Then you get a really solid all-round tool that probably can slash, can chop, can cut and do fine work. And then you get a really all-purpose parang or machete. Well, that's my thoughts on this BMC Chopra Machete, the Poison Dart Frog. Excellent materials, fit and finish and quality all around. It's just some aspects of the size and the design which I found challenging for me due to the size of my hands. Now, do you have experience with BMC and their machetes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.